I'm going to test some mop brushes today. I've been sent these by a company called Fuumuui. I think I'm pronouncing that right. I'll just hold them up to the camera. I'm not sure if you can see that, but it's Fuumuui. I've got the 8, the 12 and the 4. And they're pointed squirrel hair. And so hold a huge amount of water, a huge amount of paint, but because they're pointed, they're good for washes and little bits of detail. I'll put a link and a discount code in the description so you can check them out if you want to have a look on their website. I'm just going to do a landscape somewhere sort of in the style of Trevor Chamberlain, who's one of my all-time favourites. I'm not saying I can paint like him at all, but it's nice to sort of have a go in other people's styles. And so I'm just going to grab some blue, a bit of ultramarine, a little bit of cobalt, a little bit of cerulean as well, and just mix those all together. And you see how much paper the brush covers. I'm using the size 12, and it pretty much could cover the whole sheet in a matter of seconds, so very useful for sort of big sort of graded washes. And I'll just grab some raw sienna as well, and I'll just touch that into the blue and bring that down, so allowing it all to run together. Don't want any hard edges in this sky. I want it to be quite atmospheric. And so I pick up a little bit of alizarin as well. And same again, just touch that into where the raw sienna is running down and allow them to mix together. I'll grab some more alizarin, a little bit of ultramarine. And so mix kind of like a grey mauve and sort of bring that across just for some sort of very low lying cloud. And now just grab a little bit more raw sienna and then just sort of bring that across and touch that into that cloud, just to keep everything soft. And I'll bring that wash all the way over and just bring it down a little bit and just softening it all as I go. So now touch more blue into that and just bring it all the way over. Now I kind of want the sky and the land area to sort of blend together in the distance. So just grab some cadmium yellow now, and I'm going to get a bit of light in the ground. And so the cadmium yellow's got quite a nice glow to it, so just bring that across and that hopefully will look a bit like a bit of sun shining on some grass. And now just bring that wash down just to meet that grass area. And I'll lay some trees in over the top of that in a moment. And now some burnt sienna, and just bring that up just to meet that cadmium yellow, and just again just allow them to touch and run together a little bit. I'm going to grab some more cadmium yellow. I'm just going to put in rough outline of where I want some trees to be. And I'll add some shadow areas to these once it's dry. And then hopefully that'll kind of look like there's some sun touching the top of the trees. Now I'm going to swap brushes. I'll pick up the size 8, I think. I'll just put some blue into that cadmium yellow. And I'll put in some very sort of rough outline of just some trees there at the edge of the field. And because that first wash is still wet, so this is softening on its own. And just a touch more cobalt into that mix as well, so just so it ever so slightly varies the mix. Okay, I've allowed that to dry. So now I'm going to do a little bit of work on the trees on the left hand side, and I'll just mix up a shadow colour. Just with some ultramarine, touch of burnt sienna. And I'll just give it a quick mist before I start. It's quite warm today, so the paint's drying very quickly. And use the side of the brush and just pick out a few shadows, leaving behind some of the yellow. So just adding some darkness just at the base of the trees. And then kind of almost quite randomly, I suppose, just picking out some shadow shapes. And I think the sun's going to be coming in just from the left hand side, so slightly darker on the right. And also touch darker just at the base. So very simple little bank of trees. So just grab a little bit more blue, a little bit more cadmium, and a little bit of burnt sienna. And just bring some shadows just across the foreground area. And letting it break up, so a little bit of dry brush. I'll put a touch of alizarin in now. Same again, bit of dry brush, just leave behind some texture. And a touch of cadmium yellow as well. And a little bit more cadmium yellow, a bit more raw sienna, and a little bit of alizarin. I'm just going to put a little tree in just at the end of that bank there. Well, quite a big tree actually, really, I suppose, but it's a little bit off in the distance, so just the side of the brush again, and then very simply just a little trunk shape. Now, if you don't know Trevor Chamberlain's work, I strongly suggest checking him out. He's an absolute master of what looks like simplicity, but very difficult to do. I'm actually lucky enough to own one of his original watercolours. It's my prized possession. Okay, back into those distant trees there, and just a little bit of separation between the field and the trees. So just dropping in some cadmium yellow here and there. And just drop some more of that just into the foreground. Okay, I'm going to dry that off again. And I'm just going to, I think I've just put a cow just in the field there, just for a little bit of interest. So I'll switch to the size 4 mop brush. And although it still holds a lot of water, a lot of paint, because it's got quite a good point on it, so I should be able to get some detail with it. So just freehand, I'm just going to put in the shape of a cow. And I always think of things as shapes, so I start with a circle and then put another overlapping circle on top of that, and then another one, and then that's kind of like the body, and then just bring some legs down very simply. And I'll put some legs on the front as well. Again, keeping it very simple. And I'm going to make it look like it's grazing, so needs a head, so just like a little triangle shape. So again, start off with a circle, just roughly where like the main part of the head is, and then bring it down, make it like a little bit of a triangle, and then join it all together. And slight suggestion of a little tail hanging, and that's a little grazing cow. Now you can modify that shape ever so slightly and turn it into a horse. Just practice with a pencil if you want to do that. I just add a touch of shadow in, just underneath the cow, and then bring that across the foreground as well. And I think just a suggestion of a few little fence posts. Keep them quite irregular. I'm not sure why it is, but I always think if you paint like a fence and you put a post in at a regular spacing, always seem to look a little bit odd. So just like to put them in kind of randomly. And I'll just add the suggestion of a few more cows just in the field there, but they're a bit further away, so no detail on it at all. Kind of almost like just little squares. And then just join those together. Kind of almost like a broken line. But then if I add a little bit of shadow to that as well, and then just join everything together with the shadows. You don't necessarily have to make an exact connection, but just a little bit of texture on the ground, shadows, join everything together so nothing's kind of standing out on its own, and it makes for a better composition. I'm just going to darken off this foreground, so I'm just going to add a bit more shadow to the trees there and bring that down into the foreground. I think it was Edward Wesson that said something along the lines of you get more light by adding dark, so wrapping your lights or wrapping darks around lights just adds a sense of light. So I'm just going to add a little bit of shadow to those trees as well and just bring that down across the field. So maybe the sun's sort of quite low in the sky, casting a long shadow. Okay, I think I'll leave it at that. Okay, that's the finished painting and just testing out those new mop brushes. Which I have to say, I really like them. I'm a fan of mop brushes anyway, and squirrel mops, because they hold so much water and paint. You can cover huge areas in a very short period of time. So great for this sort of atmospheric type painting. And so it's a very simple painting, sort of like I said, somewhere in the style of Trevor Chamberlain. So check out Trevor Chamberlain if you don't know him. And I hope you liked the video. If you did, let me know, send me a comment. I'll be back again next week with another painting. So until then, have a good one, and I'll see you next week.